about, said Leicestershire Police. The force posted on its Twitter account to say it had received numerous calls in relation to the loud explosive sound. The Ministry of Defence said it scrambled Typhoon aircraft from RAF Coningsby to escort a civilian plane heading towards London after communications with the pilots were lost. Essex Police said the aircraft landed safely.
Hi guys, so today on the bench we have this old Pioneer stereo system. So this is a system that came out in 1981 and it comprises of an amplifier, the SA720, a tuner, which is the TX720, and the cassette deck, the CT720. I believe it did come originally with a turntable as well, packaged with this system, but I don't have that. I've only got these three devices. And this is typical of the era. Silver front, vacuum fluorescent displays. I like my vacuum fluorescent displays. And let's power it on and you can see this system. So the mains on this is a switch through system. So there's only one plug on this. This Pioneer amplifier has the power, and then it around the back there's some sockets. I'll show you that later. Some sockets which distribute the power to the other devices. So that's quite nice. So put the power onto the amplifier first, and this then switches the power through to the other ones as well. So I put these ones on. You'll see if we switch this one off, they'll go off. So nice displays here. Let's switch it onto the tuner. There's no aerial on this, but I think we'll be able to tune it into something. Maybe.
And see them, so yeah, obviously sad. There are many more memories of John.
Okay, so
clips of his work on the
we've got something there.
website.
And this power level meter here is the power level. So this is actually the power to the speakers. Normally you have a VU meter, which you've got on the cassette deck, but the amplifier has a power level meter. So as we turn this up, you'll see
there was passion, discipline on the pitch, and belief. And I think
that level goes up as well. We've got bass and treble controls, usual stuff on the amplifier. The problem with this, there is a fault with it. Well, there's a couple of things. First thing is that the switches here are broken on the front of here. Now, you can actually actuate the switches, but as you can see, the front plastic parts on the switch are broken off, so I'm not sure whether I can use something else there that will do the job. We'll see when we open it up. And secondly, the playback on the cassette deck doesn't work. So if we press rewind, that works. Fast forward works. But play actually ends up in a faster speed than the fast forward, and it doesn't play. So something wrong with the mechanism. So what I'll do is we'll concentrate on the cassette deck on this video. So I'll get rid of the other two items and we'll get this back on the bench, and then we'll take a look. So here we are around the back of the unit. This is the amplifier, and this has a mains cable going into it. The switched outlets here, there's one to the tuner, one to the cassette deck. They use these proprietary plugs. And then there is also one unswitched outlet here. I assume this is for the turntable, but why two are switched and one's unswitched, I don't know. But that's what my guess is. So what we'll do now is we'll get this cassette deck open and we'll take a look inside. So this looks to be a nicely made deck. There's a large power supply in there, which is always good. The deck itself is quite solid. There's a lot of metal parts in here and looks to be fairly substantial. I think I'm going to have to get this out of the player though before we can see what perhaps there's a problem with this. I've noticed also, open this cassette door, might be able to see, but the playback head is not aligned properly. It's kind of on an angle, and when you put the tape in and press play, this doesn't move, change direction, it just stays like that. So that is jammed up, possibly grease, or perhaps there's a motor in there with some belts that need looking at. So what I'm going to do is I will take this out of the case, get it on the bench, see if we can power this up with this out of the case, and then we'll come back. So we can get a look at these broken switches now. It just looks as though it's the front caps that have come off these. Yeah, they've all snapped. It doesn't look as though they're just push-on switches. It looks as though it's part of the whole mechanism. Perhaps I can glue those back in. Take a look at that when it's apart a bit further. Okay, let's see if this mechanism can come out. So here we are with the mechanism out of the deck, and this is it's quite a heavy item. This, you can see that it's 1980s construction. There's some boards on the back there, all through hole, much more complicated than the later decks. Looks as though actually they are direct drive. So if you look here at the two spindle motors, they are direct drive motors, which is really good. I mean, it's usually just the very high-end decks that have the direct drive, and I haven't seen them on a deck as old as this. Okay, so there's two spindles, direct drive motors. There must be another motor for the capstan. Okay, so there we are. That's the issue, I think. The belt has, yeah, I mean, it's just turned to gunk, that belt. So there's you can see remnants of it there on that capstan and on this one as well. So these are the two capstan wheels. Doesn't look. Oh, this one's direct drive as well. Interesting. So there's one direct drive motor for the capstans, but the two capstans are connected via a rubber belt. So that's very impressive. So 3 direct drive motors in here, and the belt has let it down, the belt between the two capstans. Okay, well, I need to source another belt and continue the video when I've got that belt. So my belt supplier that I use doesn't have the belts for this particular model. They do supply me belts if I can give them the circumference of the belt and the size of it. So that's what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to open this up and try and determine the size of the belt that's required. I did also discover that I shouldn't have been surprised that it had direct drive motors in, because it actually says it on the front here. 3 direct drive motors, and there as well 3 DD motor. Quite state of the art, I think, at the time, to have direct drive motors on the capstan. So let's see how this comes apart. You can see the 2 capstan rollers there, complete with sticky belts. So this one's the powered one, and then there's a belt across to this second one. So it looks as though these 2 boards need to come off. Okay, it's not fully off, but I've got enough access here where I can measure these capstans. I'll use a piece of string or a piece of tape and just roll it around these capstans, and then I can measure the length of that belt required. The width here I can still see on the roller. So as soon as I've got that, I will send that up to the belt supplier, and hopefully they can supply me the correct belt. I've managed to lift this board off a little bit more. There's some cable ties holding this cable tight, which is what was stopping it coming off. I just thought you might like to see the direct drive motor assembly here. So there's 4 coils on this side of the circuit board, and then this magnet on the capstan is a multi-pole magnet. So as I'm moving this around, there's 1 there, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 poles on this magnet here, and this will obviously cycle round the energize each coil to move this around. And then there's some Hall effect sensors there just to monitor the speed of this capstan and make sure that it's the right speed. Probably an early quartz lock. But yeah, it's quite interesting. I've not seen an old direct drive motor like that before. They've all been encased in, you know, the metal tins on the roller itself. Not seen it separate like this. These are the 2 switches for the tape type. So there'll be one for the record notch on the cassette tabs to make sure that that tab's in or out to record on, and then the other one will be the tape type. So it must have an auto metal tape type. Actually, I think it is. Let's see the front panel. Oh no, the front panel is manually select the tape type. So one of these must just detect whether the tape's in, I assume, and the other one is for the record tab. So I've just cleaned off these 2 capstan rollers. I just thought I'd show you what they look like. These just lift out, most of them do. And what you see is this rod here, the end of it is the capstan roller itself. This is the bit that goes into the tape. And then on the back, you usually have a large metal mass, you know, this metal wheel here, which is meant to increase the inertia. And if anything happens with the motor or the circuitry and you get a a slight decrease in power just for a second, then the speed of this is unaffected in the most part. So this is the freewheeling one, of course. This one is the direct drive motor. There's a cog on the back of here, as with this one, to be honest. They both got gears on the back, and they engage with other gears in the mechanism. This side is going to be for to move the head up and down for sure. So I can see that there's a solenoid there. This will move, engage the head mechanism, and then when the capstan starts up, it will drive that mechanism to move the head. As said previously, there's direct drive motors on the spindles themselves, so all of this mechanism here will be for the head, to move the head into place. Now, I've just remembered there's another belt here. This is for the counter. It's got a mechanical counter, so I need to get to that. So this belt is running off the take-up spindle. I say the take-up spindle, it's also reversed, so either of them can be the take-up, but this one is where the belt is. So it looks like I need to take this plate off, get access to that. You can see those spindle motors now. Oh, there's the belt. Yep, 2 direct drive motors there. Looks very nice. It looks well made. Okay, I think that's all I can do with this for the moment. I'm going to measure this belt, and I'll also measure the circumference around the 2 capstan rollers, and I'll get that belt ordered. So I will resume the video when I've got those belts. I've received some belts from ANT&TECH. These are some sample belts just based on the sizes that I gave them. They're quite good like that. They will send you out some samples if they don't have anything on their site. So let's just try these. So the belts for this, I measured this as 74 millimeters in diameter for this belt, and it's 5 millimeters wide. It's a flat belt. So this is linking the 2 capstan reels together. Around that one, and this one. Oops, it's twisted. That's it. Well, it looks to be fine. It's perhaps a little bit loose, but it's not slipping. There's some tension on there, so that's fine. So you can see this direct drive motor is going to operate and basically mirror this capstan in the same rotation, whether it's going forwards or backwards. And then, as I said, the 2 solenoids here, they'll engage and activate the head mechanism when the head needs to move. See that moving up there. I've lubricated these as well, so clean them and put some fresh oil on them, just a little bit. But yeah, they seem fine. This is the new belt for the counter. So this needs to go back in before I put the plate over the spindles. So that just hooks around there. Okay, I just need to tie up these cables out the way again. There was some cable clips on those and these ones here. I think I'll take the opportunity to clean the playhead and the pinch rollers whilst it's out. So I use some IPA, some isopropyl alcohol, on some cotton buds. And then just clean off the playhead. It's not too bad. But it does make a difference. Do the same with the erase head. And pinch rollers. Pinch rollers are always a bit dirtier. So I need to have a look at these switches now, and looks as though some sort of rubber band is holding these in place. Look at one of the other switches. You can see that it's got like a little hook on it. I think it comes this way and the rubber band sits in that channel there. You can see there's other broken ones here. See if I can get those out. I've got the plastic bits out that were broken on these buttons, and the switches themselves are okay in the back. They still actuate, but this is the but these are the parts that came out here. This is what remained of those pieces. They all seem to have gone really fragile for some reason. They just crumble. But looking at that shape, I'm not sure I'm going to get anything else to fit that, which is a shame. Unless I can get in a broken deck and take these buttons out. So the switch itself went in the bottom here, so the button is slightly up, and then this rectangle shape. I'll see if there's anything I can get, but I'm not going to hold out much hope for that. Which kind of renders this deck a bit useless. If we can't actuate these buttons, it's not going to be very good. So these are the buttons here. It's for tape type. It's ferric or high, and on the high we've got a separate switch for chrome and metal, Dolby on off, and then music search skip. So this is just a momentary switch, this last one. These are all toggle. But, I'll see what I can do, see if I can find something to fix that. I've decided that I'm not going to proceed with this repair anymore. The main reason is the switches. I can't find replacement switches anywhere, or these switch caps anyway, and these are just not repairable. So yeah, I'm not going to proceed with this, even if I did get it working correctly. Without these buttons, it's a bit useless. So I think I will just sell this on as it is. Somebody else might be able to obtain these buttons from perhaps another deck, or they might have a broken one which they can use for parts. So yeah, it's disappointing, but I'm going to leave this one for now. But at least you've had a little look around this unit. It's I like it. Do you like the look of it? And this was a good quality deck as far as I can tell. So yeah, perhaps this will gain a new lease of life with somebody else. I'll see you on the next one.